Now, let me tell you something also, which is very important. Look, the Satan is dying. Forget about what you see out there. It's the last, what's called throes of the Satan. Because the Jews have taken back an enormous amount of holiness, which I have spoken about extensively in many other shurim and so on, see. And the Satan, therefore, is dying. One of the things that we do not understand, and I'm going to tell you the reason for that, and all of this will become clear, is why has the world gone crazy? We take a look at what's happening in America, right? America is not the same country we knew 2 years ago. It's astounding. What does that mean? Okay. But before I go into that, let me tell you this. One is that the Satan is dying because he's given most of the Kedusha back. So this is what's called his last reserves. It's like a nova. A star blows completely before it dies. It's able to gather up its forces, explode in a way which can outshine a galaxy. The Satan is desperate for the sins of the Jews. Actually desperate. Therefore, the Satan, in a certain sense, has become crazy. And he's done things to this world which, in a certain sense, defy logic. You see. What do I mean? Let's take a look at America. America defies logic. What does that mean? They're no more human. America, in many ways, is led by, they're not human anymore. What does that mean? Human beings have an intuitive sense of what's right and wrong. And God did that to us. Not only that, they have an intuitive sense of how to survive. Right? If we didn't know that, we'd never survive. Right? Well, the first thing in order to survive is, hey, excuse me, don't kill babies. What are you killing babies for? That's obviously the future of mankind. Yet America is all for abortion, especially for this Michigan president who's a murderer. You don't realize what Biden is, and he has no concept of what's going to happen to him when he stands in front of God. Why? Biden is a Roman Catholic, and they have just denied him and that other Michigan woman, Nancy Pelosi, sacraments, which to them is the main way of getting their item haba, whatever, right? Why? Because they're tremendously pro-abortion. That means you can kill a kid. It's a human being, right up to the time of birth, right? I mean, what else is there? Just to pop out, and that's it. It's a human being. What are you doing? Right now he's in, and in 2 minutes, whatever, he's going to be out. So how do you kill this kid? They are pro-abortion, and there's some Michiganer who says that you can still kill a kid, I think within the first 24 hours, if you and your doctor decide that's best for you. Imagine that's murder. Anyway, and they're all for it. So in that sense, they're murderers. Now, could you imagine, and this galls me to no end, Biden got all upset when that guy in Texas killed whatever it was, 19, 20, 21 people, right? A crazy guy, right? He killed people and they finally killed him. Fine. So he was all upset and trying to outlaw guns, whatever. You can't believe that, what a moron this guy is. Because guns don't kill, it's people that kill. Why don't they outlaw knives? Because knives kill too. Well, the problem with that is you can't cook without a knife, right? So with a gun, you can cook without a gun, right? But the main idea is that, so he got all upset at the murders, right? So he's trying to take it out on the guns, whatever. Yeah, but wait a minute. You're concerned about murder? 21 people, right? Do you know that what's going on in the border? In the border, right, you have millions of people running over the border, right? But what's killing everybody is the fentanyl. They are bringing fentanyl in by the tons. And fentanyl, I think, is a cardiac antiseptic or whatever, very powerful. It will kill you. if you take the wrong amount of a couple of drops, and you'll be dead, right? 300 people die in the United States from fentanyl overdose every day. 300. Forget about 21 that one time, right? 120,000 people die every year from fentanyl overdose. And the major reason for that is the border is open for illegal immigration. So wait a minute. You look at this guy, excuse me, you are making possible murder every day. 300, 120,000 people. You know, you're a murderer because you could stop it. You could stop this. You know how you stop it? The Mexican government can't stop it. This basic nobody, Obrador, who's the president of Mexico, what is this guy? This guy has no concept. And the cartel is now invading Mexican cities. All right? So how do you stop this? He can't. So they can invade, they can take over Mexico. I'm surprised that they haven't taken over Mexico, the cartel. Right? Very simple. All you have to do is declare, right? Declare the cartel terrorists. That's what they are. They're killing Americans every day. Right? And the law is that with a terrorist, you don't have to take him to court. There's no due process. You kill him right then and there. That's what the U.S. does. So you declare the cartel to be terrorists, and guess what? You send in the U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force, and the Marines. You go in and you kill them all. Very simple. You don't need trials. You don't need lawyers. You don't need nothing. But they don't do it. And that would solve the problem of 120,000 Americans that die every day. Imagine how many kids die, and a lot of them are teenagers, by the way, you know, because they're fooled by the internet advertising. You know, there are a lot of people masquerading fentanyl as, yeah, it's okay, you get a high and all that. And then they take it and they're dead. Imagine losing a child, you know. I once spoke to somebody, you know, and he told me his son died, overdose. I could hear the pain in his voice. His kid died because of this, you know. So you can ask him, what do you think what would you like to tell Biden? We know what he'd like to tell Biden. That Biden will go to the Shiva Medui Gehenna, to the lowest level of Gehenna, and stay there for an infinite amount of time. How many deaths is this guy responsible for? I'm not even talking about he's destroying the United States. So he's a murderer. You know, he's a criminal because he's taking bribes from China. You know, it's just beyond belief what the U.S. I'm not even talking about the fact that he's a moron and he's completely out of it and so on and so forth. He's an incredibly evil person. He knows what's going on. That's what he's doing. You see. So why did the U.S. elect this guy? You see. You know what the answer is? Most people don't realize. Because that's what the U.S. deserves. You don't understand. You don't get that unless you deserve it. God doesn't give a country a Biden if they are righteous. Of course not. This is a thing called justice, a thing called appropriateness. And therefore he decided America deserves Biden. That's the appropriate leader. Leader? Murderer? Evil? Abortion? Yes. So that's one indication of what is going on in America, that we have the pits in terms of a president and his White House staff. They're all like that. And the Congress and Nancy Pelosi and tragically a Jew called Schumer, whatever. Anyway, the second thing America's into, besides abortion, which is incredible, right, is kindergarten. It's now legal, and if you send your kid to public school, you are asking for monumental problems because your kid is now being exposed to the benefits, right, of transgender. You know, you tell your kid, you don't have to be a boy. You don't have to be a girl. You can either chop off or add on, depending on what you'd like. I'm sorry to be so crude, right? But sometimes that's the only way to understand something. That's what they're teaching kids. You see, kid goes to second grade, he's got to read a book. Johnny loves Frank. And this is we're talking about here, what, a 7-year-old kid? What does the kid know? And this is now legal, not only legal, but it's compulsory to teach kids transgender, that biology doesn't mean anything. Whatever happened to America? Whatever happened to reproduction? What happened to, what God made human beings, male and female? What is this? You see. And then to boot, that's not even enough to say that transgender is okay, You can now deny your biology. Guy can say, I'm not a man, I'm a woman. I heard on the radio that some woman, some guy walks into a shower room for women, a dressing room for women. He sits down, some guy, right? And obviously, and you can't throw him out because he said he's a woman, And I don't want to go into all the problem, but there was some old woman that says, I'm not taking a shower in front of you. You crazy? But you can't throw the guy out. You can be arrested. I don't know about arrested, but you can be hounded out of your job. You can't say he anymore or she. You got to ask them, well, what's the proper pronoun? You can't even make this stuff up. A person can deny. I have a student who went into a Manhattan building. He's looking for a man's bathroom, whatever. They passed the woman's bathroom, and on it is a sign that says, if you feel you want to express yourself as a woman, is on a woman's bathroom. They talk to men, then please feel free to come in and express what you feel about yourself. He's like he almost fell over. They're inviting men into women's bathrooms. So you have the freedom of feeling what you really want to. You see? I'm just waiting for a guy to walk into a woman's mikveh. Well, that's next. You say, oh gosh, right? Would you go to such a mikveh with a bunch of guys hanging out there? This is what's next. Because you can't throw the guy, because the guy says, I'm a woman. You can't throw me out. I'm not a man. I'm a woman, and I have a right to be here. You see? So America is into denying the biology. You ever hear something like that? So when you add it all together, then there's something else which we do not realize. Besides trying to kill babies, and besides trying to destroy the youth, and besides trying to deny everybody's biology, then there's the colleges. Do you have any idea what's going on to the colleges the last 30 years, 40 years? It's all progressive, right? It's all progressive, liberal left. All the kids coming out, and these are the future leaders, they're all communists, socialists. America's destroyed. So they've destroyed the complete youth of America. So what's going to happen in 10 years, 20 years? We have no idea. And if you think it's bad now, it's only a matter of time until a mother can marry her son. You don't realize it. Because once it's mutter, it's mutter. It's only a matter of time until a brother can marry a sister. Incest becomes permitted. Well, why not? The guy can marry a guy, right? Why can't he marry a sister? They allowed it? I'm not aware of that, but to me it's logical. So what do we see? That America has reached the pits of depravity, immorality, right? Therefore, they are zeicher to Biden. They merit having Biden. But it's more than that. America is now in a war. We don't realize that. There's a civil war going on in America. We don't realize that. It's not just Biden and Pelosi and Schumer. Let me explain what I mean. Eisav in the Torah, evil, has 3 expressions. Because Eisav had 3 characteristics. First characteristic of Eisav, right? Tremendous gaiva, arrogance. because it says that Eisav despised the firstborn, despised spirituality, because that's really what the firstborn was. That's tremendous gaiva, arrogance. The second thing Eisav had is not just arrogance. You're missing the best part, by the way. That's okay. Not only arrogance, but Eisav is mirmo, fraud. He's an imposter, right? And the third aspect of Eisav is taiva, is pleasure. And that is why Western civilization, who is Eisav? Eisav became Edom. Edom became Rome. Rome is Christianity, and Christianity is Western civilization. That's it. We are Western civilization. But since Eisav has three parts, or three different characteristics, therefore Western civilization has three characteristics representing the three different forms. Who is the arrogance of Eisav? Communism. Russia. Is Russia. That's who they really are. And they were so bad that God only let them survive 70 years. That's the worst part of Eisav, the arrogance of Eisav, where they will defy anything. And they did. You remember what communism was? It was the ultimate tyranny of Western civilization. Who is the mirmo? Who is the fraud of Eisav? Europe. Europe is a fraud. Why? Because Christianity is a fraud. They tell you to turn the other cheek, right? And it's your cheek that they turn. Not theirs, yours. More people have been killed in the name of Christianity than all the wars combined. You have no idea of how much Christians have killed. We're talking here about what? Pogroms, Holocaust, expulsions, inquisitions, right? You have any idea how many people have died in the Crusades? It was a Christian movement against the Arabs and so on? No. Millions and millions of Jews have been killed and slaughtered, and an enormous amount of civilization. Christianity, in what it did historically, is one of the most evil religions ever known. There's a lot of other evil religions, what the Arabs have done and so on, Islam and so on. But what Christianity has done is for what? Because you didn't believe in Christianity, they burn you at the stake. You can imagine being burnt at the stake, or the fast in Spain, for what? Because you were not Christian? It's unbelievable when you think about that, the heinousness of the crime and so on. There you are, okay? And where is the taiva, pleasure of Eisav? America. America's Eisav, and it's very into taiva. Pleasure. We know that. America is a tremendous country that you can enjoy any type of pleasure. There you are. Three different types. But what's the worst part of Eisav? Communism. The arrogance. The atheism of Eisav is communism. Right? And now you begin to understand something. Eisav is back. But the Sultan is not interested in Eisav as America, right? Which is taiva, pleasure, right? No. It wants Eisav as communism, because that's the tyranny, the evil. Take a look at this government. This government wants to become socialist or communist, right? That's really what's happening. When they hire 87,000 IRS agents, right, it's not just to get money. It's to enslave and weaponize the IRS. Yeah, it's beyond belief what has happened, and I'm not even talking about the rest, the DOJ, right, the Department of Justice, or they call it Department of Injustice, right? What is it? It's an evil, you see. And then you're talking about the FBI, which has been weaponized. Nobody trusts the FBI anymore. Who trusts the Department of Justice? And so on. And the IRS. This is all Biden and his White House path. You're talking about ultimate progression. Progressive. Progressiveness is nothing more than Eisav in its worst form. America's changing. It's going from Eisav, the good form of Eisav, which is the taiva. Okay, it's taiva. But at least it's taiva. I mean, you can do whatever you want. It's capitalist, right? Democratic, and do whatever you want. No, they're now trying to become a communist nation, which is the ultimate prikas oil. It's the ultimate overthrowing of God. And I just showed you how. They are defying civilization. That's what America has become. They are becoming what is called Sodom. Why did God destroy Sodom? He usually doesn't do that. But he didn't even bother doing it in a natural way. Like the Mabul. Mabul was not natural because they had become unnatural. So they deserved an unnatural way of going. That was the Mabul, which I spoke about extensively. Sodom. They were all of this. So God said, you have become unnatural, and I will wipe you out unnaturally. And he wiped them out. In fact, they changed the name of the United States. It's no longer the United States of America. It's the United Sodomites of America, USA. You don't realize, but America is becoming communism, which is the worst form of Eisav. But who's doing this? The Sultan. That's what he's doing this. He wants to change the form of Eisav. You see, back to the original worst form, which is the incredible arrogance, defiance of God. You see. And that's really what these guys are. And if Biden has become that, it's because America deserves it. You see. And that's what's happening to America. The transformation back to its original, most horrid form. And they're succeeding. You can see that. Fortunately, there's the Tov Sheb'Eisav, which I talked about. Trump. Trump is the Eisav that has done tshuva. Because if you remember, I said, Rav Yavoi Tzoyer, the older will serve the younger. Means ultimately, in the end, what has to happen is Eisav has to do tshuva. That's what happens. And Trump, Donald Trump, is Eisav doing tshuva. And I mentioned this, Gilgal, Marcus Aurelius, Antoninus, and this is all in previous shiurim and so on. In any case, so there's a civil war going on. There's a war between the good part of Eisav, Trump, and the bad part of Eisav, the evil of Eisav, right? Which is Biden, Schumer, Pelosi, and really, Democratic Party. That's exactly what you're looking at. You're looking at the evil of Eisav, the Democratic Party, as represented by these people, the DOJ, the FBI, the intelligence divisions, all of that, trying to destroy and change Eisav back into its original form. Amazing, isn't it? Now, to show you how bad it is, or how much ascendancy, I will ask a question, and then you will understand Mar-a-Lago. The question is, Purim. Why are there 2 days of Purim? You have a war, right? It was a war, Persia, Haman against the Jews. Fine, okay. It was Haman against the Jews, right? And the Jews were victorious, right? So how many days of victory do you have to celebrate? 1. It's one enemy. The enemy is who? Persia, Haman. Actually, he's the enemy. It's Haman, right? So they won. So therefore, what do you have to do? Celebrate 1 day. Why are there 2 days? Why is there regular Purim and Shushan Purim? We don't celebrate Shushan Purim, but in Israel they do, right? So we have the 14th day of Adar and the 15th day of Adar. So the question is why? You only have to have 1 day. It's one enemy. Just because it's Shushan, so what? Have you ever think about that? Probably not. What's the answer? Why? No, not because it's an extra day. Yes, but it's more than that. Even if it's an extra day to fight. No, but I will tell you. Because when you fight evil, there are 2 things you fight. One is the consequences or the branches of evil. The soldiers. But that's not the way to win a war. You win a war by going into the headquarters and wiping them out. The only way to do it. There was a legendary snake called a Hydra that had multiple heads. And as soon as you cut off, it's a Greek mythology, as soon as you cut off one head, two more grew out of its place. So there was a never-ending battle. So they finally, I think Hercules is the one that did it. That's the legend of Greek mythology. They said, listen, you want to do something, you cut off the original heads. Forget about it, all the other heads are just a distraction. So I don't know how he did it, but he found the original head, cut it off, and that was the end of the Hydra. Right? You can win, you can battle soldiers here, soldiers there, but let me tell you something. The headquarters is always going to send another legion. You got to kill the headquarters. Where was the headquarters of Haman? Shushan. So Chazal realized, wait a minute. God not only gave us permission to destroy the enemy, which is wherever they are, Haman and his followers are in Persia, right? But the headquarters is Shushan. And we wiped out Shushan. So that's an extra gezerah that shows how great the decree was of permission to wipe out evil. So good had achieved such an ascendancy that you actually were able to wipe out Haman, the headquarters, which is Shushan. That's his territory. That's where the palace is and so on, right? So Chazal realized this deserves another day because it's another add-on to the success of the Gzera because the Jews did tshuva. They fasted for 3 days. So that fasting was so great that God said, not only can you wipe out, right, the extension of evil, but I'm giving you permission to wipe out evil itself, its origin, headquarters. And they did. Therefore, we have Shushan Purim as a commemoration of wiping out all of Haman. And that's why, by the way, you never hear of Haman again. Notice? You never hear of Haman in history. He's gone because they wiped out the headquarters. Got that? Okay. Now we can understand Mar-a-Lago. Evil is winning. No question about that. So how does evil show you its dominance? Right? By wiping out good. But there are two aspects of good. So evil is trying to destroy Trump. Trump is the Tov Shebeisav. Right? So it's trying to get him desperately. January 6th, which is an insanity. Everybody knows that. Right? The two impeachments. They try to get him. And now they're after him with the tax and everything. But these are all about the power of Trump. Nah. We want to really show you how evil we are. We are going into Melania's bedroom and pulling out her undergarments. What is that? I hate to be so gross. But that is an invasion of the person. We're not looking at an invasion of his powers, his office, right, which is everything else. His impeachment done to throw him off the presidency, right, and the tax. We're looking at his private residence. Mar-a-Lago is where the guy lives. So that shows you that evil is so great, their ascendancy is so great, they're going after his residence. Mar-a-Lago, right? And not only after his residence, we're going into his wife's bedroom, right? And pulling out. We're even taking his passport. I'm surprised that they didn't go after Trump and pull his pants off. I'm sorry for being so gross. But is that not an expression of your total dominance? Right? Your total victory over good? Of course it is. That's Mar-a-Lago. People don't understand what Mar-a-Lago is. Mar-a-Lago is the absolute victory over Trump. That's what it is. It's not merely invasion of somebody's house. You don't do that, and they could have negotiated with Trump. Trump said he would give it to them. The whole thing was illegal. I don't know if you realize that. But there's a law in 1978 called the Presidential Property Act that says the president has the right to keep his documents. even if they're classified, because it doesn't distinguish between classified documents or non-classified. He has a right, because they hold it's the president's property. The whole thing is illegal. And not only that, they didn't have to do this. They could have negotiated. They were going to give it all back, and they could have had a subpoena, and that's it. What are you going to the guy's house for? You see? You have any idea what that is? Imagine at 7 o'clock in the morning, you hear banging on your door. This is what happened to Stone, and who's the other guy just happened to? Oh, what's his name? Whatever. And then all of a sudden, 30 FBI agents come in with guns into your house. Metaphor, that's just accurate, yeah. Do you believe this? It's terror, shock. Because these guys have the government authority and they have billions of dollars for lawsuits. You'll go bankrupt after $1 million, maybe. You probably go bankrupt after $100,000, right? These guys have endless cash. These guys are enemies. Can't fight these guys. And they're coming in with 30 FBI guys with guns drawn. I mean, what are they, crazy? Because that's them saying, we're the boss. We can invade your privacy. We can pull off your pants and your wife's. Doesn't make a difference. That's how much control we have of you. What is that really? That God is showing America, this is how bad you've become. That the bad of Eisav has now become ultimately totally victorious for the good of Eisav. And Biden is your spokesman, the murderer. He's your spokesman. America has no concept of what God is saying to America. So what he's really saying is, do tshuva. What are you guys, are you crazy? You're defying civilization. You're defying everything. Killing babies? Destroying kindergarten kids? Denying your biology? Was bist du Meshiga, as they say in Yiddish? You have become Sedoim. Bad news for America. Very bad. And that's one of the reasons why there's a tremendous kitrug on America and why China is overtaking America. You think it's an accident that China is overtaking America? Which they are. They want to overtake America by when? By 2049. Yeah, that's their dream. And they're doing it. And so on. Because it's a tremendous kitrug against them. And they're allowing this. Very bad news. Why is this happening? So that was the bad news. I'll tell you what the good news is. Yeah, right. Thank God for that. I mean, can anybody... Look, you can deny what I'm saying, but it's so obvious, Maybe, what I'm trying to do to make it crystal clear about what's happening. Nobody wants to think in these terms because it is so despairing and depressing beyond belief. And it hasn't touched the Jewish community as much yet. But in any case, because what God does is before he takes out evil, he's going to make them incredibly powerful. Why? Because it's one thing to vanquish an enemy that's weak. Big deal. Of course God won because he's much more powerful. But you know what I'm going to demonstrate? I want to demonstrate how powerful I really am. So I'm going to make them supermen. And then I'm going to wipe them out. Why do you think God made Egypt so great? Because he wanted to wipe them out. And God does what he did very simply. He says, okay, I'm going to make them supermen. Egypt is the greatest nation on earth, under Ramses. No question about that. It's unbelievable, Egypt, right? I want to show you how great I am. I'm not going to wipe out a weakling. What's the big deal? I want to show you what I am. So not only will I wipe out the greatest nation on earth, right? That's how powerful they are. But I'm going to wipe them out supernaturally with blood, frogs. I mean, can you imagine having blood and frogs and lice and animals as your soldiers? Come on. I mean, it's like, what is this? This is not a war of man. It's a war of the Rebbeinu Shalom. Imagine lice is your soldier? I wonder who the general was. That's what the Hashem does. Before he takes out a nation, he makes it unbelievably powerful, which he always does. That's what he did to Rome. Made Rome the greatest nation on earth, and they wiped them out. By the time 400 CE came along, they were gone. So it's not only them, it's all the nations, Communism was an incredible nation, and he wiped it out. But the incredible thing is America wants to become Russia. America wants to change its form. Because America is Eisav. You see, so it says, what's the big deal? I might as well become Eisav in its worst form. And that's what you're looking at. It is satanic. Because the Satan must destroy Trump. Because Trump is the greatest enemy the Satan has ever known, other than the Jews. Because they can take out Trump as the good part of Eisav. His whole purpose is to help the Jews do the tikkun, which I've mentioned many times. Therefore, they can take out the Satan and wipe him out. And he's already significantly, the Abraham Accords and so on, he's already significantly weakened America, Eisav. Therefore, the Satan, in his capacity as the Yetzirah, which is the tempter, he's already made any American, right? Why do you think what is the major dynamic of America? It's not Biden. It's the hatred of Trump. Who ever heard of something like that? Why do you hate the guy so much? In American history, you never had this before. I mean, there have been some bad presidents, but come on. Nobody would. This is psychotic. People hate the guy. For what? He was he was an excellent president. He had tremendous policies that helped America. America was doing fabulous, So can you tell me why you hate the guy? You got so much money because of Trump, right? Oh, unbelievable, the guy. He stood up to all the bullies, all the foreign powers. He stood up to China. He stood up to Germany. He stood up to England, made NATO contribute. I mean, this guy was incredible, right? Why do you hate him so much? Because it's not America. It's a Satan that must, it's a Satan that must destroy Trump. Because Trump will destroy the Satan. He doesn't realize that. I'd love to tell him, if anybody out there knows Trump, and wants to hear the emes of why they invaded Mar-a-Lago. You should know one thing. You now understand Mar-a-Lago. Who?
Trump. He's coming every week in deal.
He is?
Yeah.
Wow.
You never talked to him?
I'd love to talk to him. To get me an appointment. But I'm not interested in talking to him. I want to explain to him what he is and why they hate him and what spiritually is going on. Who cares about what America says? You're looking at satanic forces, and that's why they're so powerful. There's nothing that equals satanic forces. We've never seen that before. It's unbelievable. You see? It's like half America hates this guy. For what? Nothing makes sense. America has become completely irrational. But Americans not irrational. They're not stupid people. The Satan. And with the Satan, it's existential. Like Iran and Israel. If Israel survives, Iran dies. If Trump survives, it's over for the Satan. So that's the good news. The good news is God wants to show America what is happening. And the way he does that is to show how much can evil do to Trump. Right? That's what he wants to show. You have no idea what kind of an indicator that is, and nobody sees it. I can't believe I'm the only guy seeing this. Yeah, they all say it was wrong, it's this, they should have done this, but it's an attack on the presidency. Forget about the presidency. It's an attack on it's an attack on who? On good, the good part of Eisav. It's an attack on righteousness, holiness. You see? It's really what it is. Except God says, I want to show you how far you guys have gotten. And I'm doing this to destroy you. You see? And that's what you're looking at. So what can I say? Hopefully, Mar-a-Lago is the end. What? Because other than his wife's underwear, and I hate to be so gross, what else can you take? Think about that. I mean, like, what? The whole thing is insane. You cannot embarrass a guy more than that. And so on. We are witnessing an existential conflict. You don't realize what's going on between Biden, who's a perfect puppet. Why do you think God kept him in business for 47 or 48 years? Why this moron, this murderer, right, this criminal? Why? And he's, like I said once, he's achieved what every politician wants to achieve. Became a senator when he was young, right? Delaware. What kind of state is Delaware? And not only that, right, but became vice president. And after that, he became president. I mean, everybody dreams of this. And this moron had done it. How? Because it's not Biden. It's God that needs Biden. Why? Because Biden is such a moron, right, that he can be a puppet to the Democratic Party. And it is the Democratic Party that is the evil of Eisav. Okay, I'm going to stop. I hope I've clarified what all this really means. And hopefully what the good news is that this is the end. Okay.